Unlike the Democrats, Republicans in Iowa tomorrow cannot vote for a second choice. But also unlike the Democrats, not a lot of Republicans seem to be happy with any other Republican's first choice. In our fourth story tonight, which Republican will lose least badly? Mike Huckabee with a remarkable double misstep tonight in Iowa. Not only was he actually to leave the state on the eve of the caucuses to fly to Los Angeles to appear on The Tonight Show, but he told reporters he supported the striking TV writers and was relieved he would not have to cross a picket line. Not realizing that it was The Late Show that reached a new contract with the writers, nor that there were protesters outside The Tonight Show studios carrying signs reading, "Huckabee is a scab." There has been other laughter of the at kind, not the with, for his announcement Monday that he would take the high road by not airing an attack ad against Romney, after which he promptly played the attack ad for reporters. And then there's today's report from Politico.com that Mr. Huckabee blew $150,000, not the $30,000 he claimed, on the aborted anti-Romney push. All this after Huckabee reacted to the Bhutto assassination by botching his description of Pakistan's border, and reacted to the national intelligence estimate on Iran, first by admitting he had no clue about the NIE, then falsely claiming he only had a few hours to learn about it, then telling Iowa's Quad City Times that he couldn't keep up with the NIE or the latest Britney Spears news because of his tough campaign schedule, despite the fact that Huckabee had displayed considerable mastery of the subject when he was asked 2 weeks ago about the pregnancy of Britney Spears' sister. On that note, we'll turn to Washington Post columnist and associate editor Eugene Robinson. Gene, thanks for your time tonight.
Good to be here, Keith.
Lord help us if we start electing or not electing presidents based on their Britney Spears IQ. But the thing with the talk show gaffe tonight, which is that's going to make great photographs, the stuff with the NIE, isn't the problem really the one here? Not that it makes a candidate look uninformed on a given issue, but that it marks this candidate as the guy who either will not ask anybody around him to check something like that out or doesn't have anybody to ask?
Yeah, the question about Huckabee is becoming, is this guy ready for prime time? I mean, somebody ought to tell him about this newfangled thing called the Internet, where you can, learn all sorts of news that's going on, or newspapers say he might want to read and catch up on things like the national intelligence estimate. One of these gaffes is one thing, but the succession of incidents in which he is misinformed, ill-informed, just plain clueless, it has got to make people ask questions. I was out in Iowa over the weekend, and people did ask questions about Huckabee, and certainly Democrats were laughing, but Republicans were asking questions as well about whether this guy is ready to be even considered as a president.
The non ad that blasted Romney's record in Massachusetts included that damning phrase, "no executions," and obviously Romney's got to be just terrified about that. McCain, on the other hand, is now standing by his anti-Romney ad, which quotes Romney explaining why presidents don't need foreign policy experience. Are they hitting Romney for the same reasons on different fronts, or are there different motives here?
Well, they're hitting Romney for the same reason. He's the guy who, for months, has been ahead in Iowa and ahead in New Hampshire. Huckabee, to have any chance at the nomination, has got to win in Iowa, and indeed he's shot to the top of the polls. But Romney's starting to come back. He's got to win there, and Huckabee obviously is not going to attack on the basis of foreign policy, since he doesn't seem to know anything about it. So he's going to use his domestic issues to go after Romney. And McCain has to win in New Hampshire if this apparent resurrection of his campaign is to continue. He's doing pretty well in Iowa. He could finish third, but it's really about New Hampshire for him, and his positions on domestic issues are anathema to the Republican base. So he's got to use foreign policy as his kind of wedge against Romney. So Romney gets it from both sides in both directions.
So this then would read to anybody who listened to what you were saying, maybe even wrote it down and made little diagrams with arrows going in different directions, that the Republicans may not realize they seem to be conducting, like I said before, a demolition derby, and every time two of their battered candidates run into each other, they each come away minus a headlight or a fender. Who can survive that? Do we get 1996 for them again, a kind of Bob Dole-ish candidate who's just out there and people go, get the mirror out for him?
Maybe we do. I mean, the fundamental problem is that the Republican coalition that elected George W. Bush to 2 terms as president, has not yet found a candidate who kind of sets its collective heart aflutter. It's certainly a candidate who appeals to more than one of the various constituency blocks in the Republican coalition. And all of these candidates have problems, and so they rise and then they get chipped away and eroded, and they lose a fender, as you said. And that seems to have happened to Giuliani. It seems to have happened to Romney. It seems to be happening now to Huckabee. John McCain at least has been around. A lot of people don't like him. Some people love him, but we know who he is. And I think as this process goes on, it only helps McCain, who is a known quantity.
And Newt Gingrich, who's sitting in his castle, rubbing his hands together, saying, closer, closer. Eugene Robinson of the Washington Post, is always a pleasure. So thanks.
Great to be here, Keith.